On today's episode, the U.S. Navy recovers survivors after a drug boat strike in the Caribbean. King Charles prepares for a historic prayer with the Pope. And new numbers show what really makes up U.S. household wealth. Plus your trivia question, which U.S. city installed the first parking meter? It's Saturday, October 18th, and this is the Flyover Podcast. Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts. Hello and welcome to the Flyover Podcast. I'm Amy Hess, your weekend host. And whether you're brewing coffee, firing up the grill for game day, or just easing into the weekend, we're so glad you're here. We've got plenty of news to unpack, so let's get right to it and get ready for takeoff. The U.S. Navy rescued 2 survivors following a military strike on an alleged drug smuggling boat in the Caribbean. Navy helicopters conducted the recovery after overhead video showed possible survivors in the water. The individuals were taken into custody and transferred to a U.S. ship. Officials say it was the 6th such strike under the Trump administration. Separately, Admiral Alvin Holsey, the 37-year veteran overseeing military operations in Latin America and the Caribbean, unexpectedly announced his retirement. Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth praised Holsey's service. In a first since the Protestant Reformation, King Charles III will join Pope Leo XIV in a prayer at the Sistine Chapel on October 23rd. The public prayer will focus on the care of creation and marks a significant moment after more than 400 years of division by doctrine between the Catholic Church and the Church of England. Charles will also receive a formal title at a pontifical basilica with historic ties to the Church of England. Queen Camilla will meet with 6 Catholic sisters who advance female empowerment through education programs and efforts to combat human trafficking. And a new chart from J.P. Morgan shows stock ownership now makes up nearly half of all U.S. household wealth. Home ownership follows at 27%, with pensions at 17% and bank accounts at 8%. On the liability side, mortgages dominate at 67%, with student loans at 9%, car loans at 8%, and credit card debt at 6%. You can see the full chart of national household assets and liabilities with a link in the show notes. Let's turn to Washington. First up, former National Security Advisor John Bolton was in court Friday, pleading not guilty to 18 federal charges of mishandling classified information. If convicted, Bolton, who once held one of the highest security clearances in the country, could face up to 10 years behind bars, along with $250,000 fines per count and 3 years of supervised release. Meanwhile, the Trump administration filed an emergency request at the Supreme Court to let it deploy the National Guard to the Chicago area. The White House wants the justices to pause a judge's order blocking the deployment. In more legal matters, former Trump special counsel Jack Smith has now been referred to the Department of Justice's Office of Professional Responsibility. Why? Reports say Smith's team secretly obtained the phone logs of multiple Republican members of Congress during the investigation, raising serious ethical questions. Finally, coast to coast today, it's round 2 of the, quote, No Kings protest. Activist groups are taking aim at President Trump's recent executive actions, staging rallies in over 2,000 cities nationwide. Organizers say they're pushing back against what they call abuse of power, which includes his immigration crackdown and his sending troops into American cities, while Republicans have branded the protests as, quote, Hate America rallies. Here are some podcast extras just for our listeners. If you haven't booked your holiday flights yet, here's your friendly nudge. Get to it. The 2025 holiday travel season is shaping up to be a record buster, with Americans projected to drop a jaw-dropping $311 billion on flights and hotels. That's up $260 more per person than last year. And yes, you heard that right. Per person. Airline booking data shows demand climbing by over 2% for Thanksgiving and just under 1% for Christmas. To keep up, airlines are adding 250,000 more seats. Translation? It's going to be crowded and it's going to be pricey. So lock in your flights now. Next up, from soaring prices to ancient theft. Egyptian authorities are on the hunt for a 4,200-year-old limestone painting. Yes, 4,200 years, stolen from a sealed tomb in one of the country's most significant ancient burial sites. The artwork vanished months ago, but officials just went public this week. It was from Egypt's Old Kingdom, meant to ward off intruders. And get this, it literally had a curse inscribed on it warning against intruders. This isn't an isolated case either. The painting's disappearance follows the theft and likely destruction of a pharaoh's gold bracelet, raising alarms about an uptick in artifact crimes. And finally, it's the garage sale dream come true. A Massachusetts man picked up an old wooden chest off Facebook Marketplace for $75. And inside, a treasure trove of baseball cards from 1909 to 1911, featuring legends like Cy Young and Christy Mathewson. Tom Conrad, the lucky buyer, says many of the 122 cards were literally glued to the lid, which may have helped preserve them for more than a century. Bids have already soared past $6,700, and experts believe some of the cards, even in rough shape, could be worth thousands. In top condition, a Cy Young card from that era has fetched over $100,000. So yeah, might be time to revisit Grandma's attic. Still ahead on the flyover, Wall Street closes out the week in the green. China ousts 9 top generals, and college football gears up. That's all coming up. But first, a word from our sponsor, Juvenon. Feeling tired, sluggish, or foggy? It could be poor blood flow. Blood Flow 7 by Juvenon is scientifically designed to support healthy circulation so you feel energized, clear-headed, and vibrant again. Packed with natural ingredients like nitrosamine, S7, and transresveratrol, Blood Flow 7 works by boosting nitric oxide levels, a molecule that relaxes blood vessels, helping your blood flow freely to every corner of your body. That means more oxygen and nutrients to your brain, heart, muscles, places that need a little extra help as you age. With just 1 dose a day, you can reclaim your stamina, support heart health, and improve overall vitality, all without caffeine or stimulants. Try Blood Flow 7 today and feel the difference where it matters most, inside your veins. Visit www.bloodflow7.com/TFO or click the link in the show notes. Wall Street wrapped the week on a steady climb, with all 3 major indexes ticking up by just over 0.5%. The Nasdaq rose by 0.52%, the S&P 500 edged up 0.53%, and the Dow Jones wasn't far behind, also finishing the day up 0.52%. On the digital front, Bitcoin cooled off a bit, dropping 1.57%, and gold slipped down 0.93% to close at $4,240.60 per ounce. Here's what's happening beyond our borders. First stop, Beijing. China has expelled 9 generals for serious financial crimes in a sweeping anti-corruption campaign ahead of a Communist Party meeting on economic policies and leadership changes. Meanwhile, in Gaza, Hamas ramped up its recovery efforts on Friday, digging through rubble with heavy machinery in an attempt to locate the remains of 19 Israeli hostages. The effort is part of a bid to meet ceasefire conditions and avoid reigniting a war with Israel. And finally, a legal ruling out of Luxembourg. The European Union's top court handed down a decision that's ruffling feathers with pet owners. Dogs are considered, quote, cargo if they travel in the baggage hold of an airplane. The ruling came in response to a case where a Spanish airline lost a passenger's dog. Yes, lost. The decision means airlines are not required to pay higher compensation if the animal is lost. Time to lace them up because today's sports lineup is nothing short of loaded. The marquee matchup on the college football slate, that's happening down in Athens, where the number 9 Georgia Bulldogs host number 5 Ole Miss. Later tonight, we stay in SEC country. Number 11 Tennessee heads to number 6 Alabama. And speaking of a rivalry, number 20 USC and number 13 Notre Dame renew their historic feud under the lights in South Bend. We've got the full schedule linked in the show notes. Meanwhile, Indiana football is putting some serious faith and serious money behind Curt Cignetti. The Hoosiers just signed their head coach to an 8-year, $93 million extension. That makes him one of the top-paid coaches in the country. And the number 3 ranked Hoosiers are rewarding that trust so far. They're undefeated at 6-0 with Michigan State on deck. Shifting gears to Formula One, and yes, we mean that literally, Apple just inked a 5-year media rights deal to stream all F1 races in the United States on Apple TV. The deal's worth about $140 million per year, a major bump from the $85 million ESPN had been paying. And finally, this one's raising some eyebrows. North Carolina's GM Michael Lombardi reportedly traveled to Saudi Arabia back in August to reportedly explore potential investment into the Tar Heels football program via the kingdom's public investment fund. An unconventional move, and safe to say college football continues to go global. Here are a few more stories we thought you needed to know. Ace Frehley, founding member and original lead guitarist for Kiss, has died at 74. His death follows a recent fall. Known as much for his signature solos and face paint, Frehley helped launch Kiss into rock superstardom. The band was recently named a Kennedy Center honoree. And across the pond, Prince Andrew will relinquish the use of his royal titles, including Duke of York, in the wake of mounting pressure over his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and his links to an alleged Chinese spy. And finally, at CBS News, change is already underway. The head of standards and practices has exited, marking the first major leadership shift since Barry Weiss took over as editor-in-chief. She has been charged with scrutinizing the network's news coverage. All right, time to check your poll results. Yesterday we asked, what do you listen to in the car? And here's how you answered. Music cruised to the top at 40%. Talk radio took the silver with 20%. Nothing at all came in third at 13%. Audiobooks grabbed 10%. Podcasts followed close behind at 9%. And you can always catch up on feel-good flyover podcasts. Good news stories never have an expiration date. And sports rounded things out with 8%. For me, I'm doing the Bible recap, and while I try to read it, I often get really behind, like this week. Sorry, Terry Lee Cobble. So I will often listen to it in the car to get caught up. Now for today's question, do you know CPR? Your choices are yes, no, or I should. You can answer with a link in today's show notes, and I'll have the answer for you tomorrow. All right, time to circle back to our trivia question. Do you remember what it was? Which U.S. city installed the first parking meter? That honor goes to Oklahoma City. Back in 1935, the city rolled out the very first one, Parkometer number 1, thanks to a man named Carl C. McGee. It started as a test, 175 meters, 14 downtown blocks, but it worked big time. The results? Less congestion, more city revenue. That's a wrap for your Saturday edition of The Flyover. Thanks for spending part of your day with me. I'll be right back here with you tomorrow. If you liked what you heard, share it with a friend and help spread the word. There's a better way to do news. No hype, no spin, just honest, clear stories that matter. See you Sunday, and as always, thanks for flying with us.